Cheers, everybody. If you're anything like me, you need a beer after what we just experienced here Saturday evening that saw my beloved Toronto FC draw 3-3 at RFK Stadium against DC United in what was, in some ways, one of the more enjoyable games that I've watched in a long, long time. There was a lot of pathos, a lot of drama. We've got, of course, the old prodigal son, Dwayne De Rosario, scoring a hat trick against his former club. I don't think they were real outstanding Dwayne De Rosario goals, but I think a lot of the media in the Sunday newspapers are definitely going to make that the storyline. I don't think that was the storyline in and of itself. I'll get the D-Road thing out of the way, but before I do, and I'm doing this video, by the way, literally a few minutes after the game ended, because I just want to do it when it's fresh, when the emotion is fresh. But before I can do anything, I need this for a second. Bear with me. That's better. And I'm sure a lot of you guys and gals, if you're anything like me, are probably doing much the same thing right now. Hi, everybody. Tim Drudge here, View from the South Stands, coming to you late Saturday evening. It'll probably be Sunday when most of you see this. After, of course, that dramatic 3-3 draw in Washington, D.C. I tweeted this a few minutes ago before I came down to actually do my video. The thing I think that pissed me off the most from an emotional perspective about tonight was the fact that I had less than 60 seconds to enjoy the thought of a TFC road victory this season. 2-0 down, coming back, scoring 3, winning the game in dramatic fashion. Kuverman's doing it again. I'll get to him in a second. And then all of a sudden they go down the pitch. Andy Iro, who I'll get to in a moment as well, gives up a horrible ball. D-Row pops it in the net, and gives up a penalty, I should say. And D-Row pops it in the net, and there you go. There's the ball game. Let's get to the game in detail, because there were a few interesting things that I want to actually cover off. First, the D-Row thing. I think I've said pretty much all I want to say about his performance. Obviously, he had 3 opportunities to score, 2 from open play, and one from the penalty spot. Being an experienced 85 career goal poacher in this league, to his credit, he had a little bit of space off Donnell Henry, who was subbed at the half, and I'll get to the subs in a bit as well. He gets about 2 feet of space, is able to turn and get a ball past Stephen Fry, a ball that Fry may have been able to save. I'm not really sure. Again, I'm not going to really give Fry too much criticism, because frankly, I don't think he deserves it if you look at the total effort that he's put in all season. In the second, of course, Andy Iro, a ball comes in that Iro just literally flubs at his feet. It comes to D-Row and behind him, and bang, it's his second goal. And the penalty, again, people might think it's a soft penalty. I don't think it was a soft penalty. Iro comes rambling into the DC player. I think it was Pontius, if I'm not mistaken, who had a pretty good game as well. And he goes down on contact, which is something that you're supposed to do in this sport. And the ref doesn't hesitate, points to the spot. And there's the draw snatched from the jaws of victory, so to speak. A couple of other things I thought were interesting. I thought it was interesting going into the game that both Ashton Morgan, who had a pretty good game out left, and Donnell Henry in the center, both started for the Reds. One of the things that they said in the pregame show today was that Vinter, when queried about this by some of the reporters, I think Claude Fegg with TSN, for example, he said that, hey, I'd rather, if players are playing equally, I'd rather play the kids, looking for the long-term development of the club. Henry was subbed at the half. I think he was at fault for the first D-Row goal. And he was subbed at the half for a more offensive player in Morozovic. And what happens? Same as the week before, 5 minutes after Morozovic comes on the pitch, he scores a nice goal with a beautiful crossing play. He pops a goal into the net, and bang, TFC is right back into it. It's pretty interesting as well that about 7 or 8 minutes later, TFC makes another substitution where they take where Julian de Guzman comes on for Terry Dunfield, who in his debut, his official MLS debut for TFC as a starter, had a little bit of a nondescript game. I think TFC was pretty flat in the first half overall, particularly from the midfield. When Bill Hamid, the DC goalie, was sent off after 8 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is perfect now. You've got a relatively tired TFC team that should be able to knock the ball around and get a little bit of space, be a little more conservation-minded of their energy, but still be able to take advantage of the extra man on the field. And they weren't able to do so in the first half due to a lack of movement. I think the tired legs, all of that traveling to Portland, to Nicaragua, back to Toronto, down to DC, and now back, I'm sure, either tonight or tomorrow morning to Toronto as well, speaks to the, and a trip to Kansas City in there as well, speaks to, of course, how difficult it is to actually play in the Champions League in an MLS when it comes to the travel. So their legs were pretty tired in the first half, and I think Dunfield, his substitution for Julian de Guzman in the 54th minute was quite interesting as well. And then, oh my God, what happens? Finally, the designated player on $1.7 million, a guy that I've thrown a lot of criticism towards, a very divisive figure in the relatively short history of Toronto FC, one Julian de Guzman, on a beautiful play. I'm talking a goal of the year candidate from about 30 yards out, puts an absolute screamer into the net for the Reds. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Julian de Guzman scores? I couldn't believe it. And I'm sure most of the people that I was looking at on Twitter and most of the people that were watching the game along with me probably thought exactly the same thing. The goal shouldn't have stood. The free kick shouldn't have stood. What happened is DC had a substitution that they were making. They whistled the guy onto the field, and before that guy could even remotely get into position, TFC took the free kick, popped it over to de Guzman, and to his credit, he popped it into the net. That led to Ben Olsen, the DC coach, being ejected from the game because he lost his mind, went on the pitch, and gave the fourth official and the referee an earful, but the goal actually stood, and then, of course, it was 2-2. Then Danny Koeremans, who I said I'd mention, comes back again to actually score a late goal for Toronto FC. If you're counting, folks, in MLS, in 4 games that Koeremans has played, he scored 3 goals. That's a fantastic strike rate in this league, and if he can keep that up, he's going to be a tremendous quality signing for the Reds, whether it be for the end of this season or going into the Champions League or going into next season as well. Absolutely amazing. And of course, while all of this is going on, the Andy Iro show is going on as well. And I think it's painfully obvious that the kid is having a significantly challenging crisis of confidence. Excuse me. That's better. You could see it in his face after the second goal that was conceded. And especially after the penalty that was conceded, you could literally look on his face and just see that his confidence in his own abilities tonight, for the very least, was completely shot. I tweeted this, and again, Twitter appeals to the passionate side of me because I can just vent the spleen and the bile that's building up sometimes when I'm watching this team pretty quickly in 140 characters. And I said this about maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, but I really believe that it's true. After what I saw tonight, I would take Ty Harden over Andy Iro in a heartbeat. And Ty Harden, with all due respect to a very nice guy, has been an absolutely diabolically terrible defender for Toronto FC this season. I would take Eddie Viator, who I don't know anything about, who was a throw-in in the Andy Iro trade. I would take him. I would play Eckersley back there. I would play anybody on the team at center back right now over Andy Iro if it was my call. what Aaron Vinter is going to do defensively with a player like that who's had such a real crisis of confidence over the last couple of games and who, frankly, hasn't been very good since his acquisition from Columbus. I was, frankly, somewhat enthusiastic about his acquisition a few weeks ago, but it's just looking to be absolutely poor. It's just so frustrating because, like, look at the goals. TFC scored 7 goals in MLS in the last 3 games, folks. 7 goals in 3 MLS games should get you some wins. It should get you some points. It got us a point tonight, but it should get the team some W's rather than T's, or D's, or, well, not D's, but T's, ties, draws, or losses for that matter. And yet, through defensive lapses, game in and game out, it keeps happening. Maybe, I'll just spitball this, maybe put Torsten Frings back there and play Julian de Guzman in the midfield in that sort of parked in front of the center backs role that he's been paid the big bucks to play. Something has to be done because offensively, whether it be guys like Morozovic, whether it be guys like Kuvermans, whether it be guys like João Plata, whether it be this new kid Avila, who we have a lot to see from, whether it be players of that ilk, it seems that Aaron Vinter and the Reds over the last few games have cured their goal scoring problems, but yet they're still leaking goals at the back. If you can score 2 or 3 goals a game, you should be picking up wins, folks. And I really hope that in the next week, the club seriously takes a look at how defensively they plan on structuring themselves going into the run. If TFC would have won this game tonight, folks, it would have kept their relatively slim playoff hopes alive, and it would have been an absolutely massive confidence boost coming home.